Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of SAP Demystifying S4HANA. I'm Faycal, SAP consultant at PwC.
And I'm Torsten, partner at PwC, leading the SAP practice in Belgium and the European Center of Excellence for Sub-Strategy. Hey, Faycal.
Hey, Torsten.
Hey, everyone. My name is Tassim.
Who are
I'm
you?
a third person. Indeed. Tassim Zerqane, also part of technology consulting at PwC, working on digital transformations and CIO advisory, under which we understand IT strategy and ERP implementations.
Good stuff. Tassim, why are you here today?
Well, you guys, I'm humbled by the invitation because this episode, as I understood it, is going to be a different one from what I heard great things about and listened to. It is this time you as a moderator examining how we felt through or how we experienced the S4 implementation we closed last year.
Yeah, so if you say you, it's me who would be the moderator. And
indeed.
Actually, the idea of this podcast was to ask you guys a bit some questions. One, you, Tassim, as an experienced project manager, a seasoned one, and on the other hand side, Faycal, you having gone through the first implementation project end to end, which I think is an interesting perspective on things. Someone who is a bit new to the game on the one hand side, on the other hand side, an experienced person who can share insights in an actual transformation project, which at the end went perfectly well, went over the finish line in scope, largely in budget, with except for some unforeseen changes which we didn't know in the beginning, but also there very, let's say, moderate overrun from the initial budget, but foremost successfully in time. So we didn't need 1 week more than we originally set, and it was an extremely ambitious timeline. And we will get in all of these aspects a bit later, but maybe let's introduce first to our listeners the project itself. Starting maybe with the company. Tassim, can you give a bit of an outline about the company which was asking us to do that transformation?
So this company was or still is rather, a chemical company specialized in manufacturing acetate, a component that we use in everyday appliances like the foil that you have in prepared meals or in filters. It is something that also is innovative in the sense that it is biodegradable. And so this company, who has been for many decades around the block, an authority on the matter, asked for this transformation to go to S4.
And when you say transformation, what was exactly the scope of the project?
So the scope of the project here was having the company working on the SAP ECC version on, for example, business, where the business operations in order to cash, finance, controlling, supply to product, source to pay, quality, for example, they had to go towards the S4 to benefit from the innovation that brings S4.
Yeah, it was an easy job, huh? Was not
well. Actually, I need to give a shout out to our colleagues in PwC Greece, in PwC Italy, in PwC Turkey, and India.
Yes.
And Turkey, if I did not say it before, because they're really. I mean, you're only as good as your team.
Yeah.
And we were blessed with a great team. And so when you say it was easy, I think thanks to all of them.
Yeah.
They made this experience an easy one to have. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so definitely I think you already highlight one important element. We composed really an absolute A-team. with experts around Europe, which were really Europe and even India, which contributed all their pieces of the jigsaw to make that work at the end. Indeed, definitely already the first, let's say, lessons learned to really go with the best team in something like that, because, and we will get back later into that, there were a number of very, very big challenges. But let's maybe continue a bit more about the project itself. When did it start? When did we go over the finish line? What was the timeline?
Well, I believe that it was somewhere around end of 2023, where actually you and Faycal worked together in preparing the lay of the lands and evaluating which course was the right one for this client. You guys went into the assessment and analysis, how to take up such an endeavor. And like you said in the very beginning, a very ambitious timeline. How would you make that possible? And I think I want to redirect here to Faycal, how you went through that experience, because you were there at the very beginning and I only jumped on, I think, 3 months after.
Yes, indeed. So my point of view when I started on this project alone with Torsten, it was the first thing it was all new to me. And it started all with the readiness check, a very handy tool where you just extract the data, you put it into the tool, and then you get this whole analysis of the company with simplification items, the size of it. So that was already a first touch point to the project for me. And I was like, it looks that easy to using that tool, but that was
only... It all starts that easy.
Yeah. That was only the start of the project. And then, Tassim, we analyzed the outcome of the readiness check. We gave a workshop around that together with Torsten. And then when it was the right fit to continue with them, Tassim took over.
Yeah. So maybe just to wrap that up, so we really went into analyzing the as is. We checked what was the technical situation at the moment, what was the functional situation at that moment, what was the custom code, what was the size of Faycal, as you mentioned. So we really got a good understanding actually from where we started, and then started the discussion on, Tassim, you mentioned it already, on the approach. So how did we come to the right approach for the company?
So at the very beginning, when we called it setting the foundation, right, phase, it was going, on the one hand, you had the business processes of the domains that I shared at the very beginning. What happened, we were there with business experts, we were there with S4 experts, highlighting what is or how the process for example, order to cash, how it runs today and how it runs in their system as ECC. And we then highlighted what is going to change towards S4. And so by identifying these blocks, we then determined, for example, this is when you then get a RICEF, right? Such a document that states what is required, what are the pain points, what is needed in order to account for the set process. And this is what we did for all the other 9 business domains. At the same time, what we also did, we saw that there was a definite need for a middleware here, because they work with peripheral applications. And there we also did an analysis on which middleware was the right one to have. So it's not only supporting business, but also how can we future-proof the technology landscape of the client here. And we went through that process for about 3 months, where we went through the as-is, like you say, identify the gaps, and then get a functional design document, which then became the foundation of the build afterwards. Also here, very importantly to mention is, in that process, we also had to include the data migrators, SNP, who we have done very successful projects with. And so shout out to you guys as well for supporting, being this added value. Also, we introduced Smart Shift. I mean, they helped out with identification of the custom code and what will and will not be migrated afterwards in the roadmap. So early on, you already have these partners around the table supporting the build phase as well.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting because at the end we had all hands calls with the different parties, and it was numerous. It took a lot of cooks to prepare the meal for the client. Maybe just to wrap up that, I think we had a very good view on the things that had to change because of S4HANA. And on the other hand side, also on the, let's say, prioritized wish list of the changes, which concluded in a very specific approach. So we didn't go for, of course, not for re-implementation, a greenfield. We also could exclude a pure system upgrade because we identified some improvement areas which we could only realize with one specific approach. Tassim, what did we opt at the end for as a transformation?
Well, we indeed in this analysis, what became apparent, because in your early on when you did the analysis, like you said, the readiness check, indeed, you have three ways of going through. Brown field, like a copy as it is, or a blue where you have a selected data migration, or a green start over from scratch. For example, this client didn't have anything in vendor invoice management, for example, so this was considered a green field, totally new, build it up. But for the other domains, it became a selective data migration, otherwise called as blue field. This is the approach that we
indeed. And one of the main things that we did is, and a backlog item that we see at many companies, that certain changes in the underlying enterprise structure had to be done. What the customer wanted to do for years, not really an opportunity to tackle that. In our case, on the one hand side, throwing away company codes that are not used anymore. The system was a carve out of a much, much bigger system years ago when the company was separated from a large multinational corporate. So it was quite an, let's say, used/abused system that we actually found, with a number of items that were not relevant anymore, but also that the remaining active company codes were actually belonging to different controlling areas, which at the end results in that you cannot use reporting functionalities very well anymore. So one of the wishlist items was also bring that all under one roof, so we can use the power of the S4 system again. Just closing that question on the duration, when did we actually then start with the project? When did we go live?
Well, we started then beginning of 2024 and went live in April 2025. This was the overall duration that we had, accounting for potential delays. Yeah, which always happens. Yeah. And it's our job, or it was my job, to mitigate those potential delays that we had and see the mitigation actions that could result in accounting for a potential. So there was a lot of agile happening at the same time. And I saw also with you, Faycal, like you said, it was for you the first time. I've gone through some of these implementations before, but I think it was just the volume was just massive, was just a lot happening in parallel. You have all these business processes or domains running just at the same time, and every stakeholder is important. What was it for you like when we were with these stakeholders or these risks that were identified throughout the engagement? How did you look at that?
I mean, to start with, it was quite intense for me. As I said at the beginning, it looked all easy with the readiness check, but then when you dive deeper into the project and you work together with these stakeholders, then indeed a lot of things come right in your face, and you get exposed to a lot of knowledge of all of them. So that's a good thing. But on the other hand, you get also overwhelmed by sometimes. And then you think by yourself, SAP is really that big. Like you have different directions to go, different modules, and different experiences regarding this knowledges.
You know, when we were in the laying the foundation to then going into the more profound design workshops, right? Because at the very beginning, when you say we lay the foundation, we then go into the integrated business processes of each business domain to say this is going to be the change or this is going to be new in S4. And then we subsequently go into the design, getting then our functional design document as a deliverable. You know, the experience there is one where everything looks clean cut.
Yeah.
And I think when we will jump over in the next section, when we talk about the build experience, you get the hidden surprises.
Yeah.
And this was, I think for me, from the build on, this was around, call it mid-August that we started, because systems need to be ready and what have you, up until, let's say, January, when we really closed the build phase. That period, I still have
Nightmares.
dreams sometimes about it, really. But yeah. Let's wrap this one up.
No. But because actually what's good about that podcast is also that we a bit realize what we have gone through at that time, and we forgot a major item, that the target system was not at their hosting provider that they had to, but we also moved at the same time. We didn't only turn the system upside down, but we also landed it in Subrise, which, and you mentioned it already, system provisioning. SAP provided us IP addresses, not necessarily systems we could work with. So also that took us quite some time. I think also SAP learned a lot with that project. I know, as a matter of fact, that they have changed also after these experiences a number of processes to provision systems. So you mentioned already going then more into the build phase, but maybe as a bit of a bold question for both of you, what were the biggest challenges? And I'm not talking only about technical things. Let's put the project as an entirety, from functional dev, from technical, but also from an organizational point of view. We have always to deal with people as well. So when you reflect on that, what was for you in this extremely tight deadline? And Tassim, I'm really happy that you mentioned it. We did so many things in parallel in order to meet that ambitious deadline. We had so many different parties around the table that had to be coordinated and orchestrated, from data migration over custom code, over SAP client, our team in different parts of Europe. What was, from your perspective, if you look back, the biggest challenge on that journey?
Let me put it this way. Early on, and I found myself to be a broken record, because I felt that it was important to repeat it over and over again. It was my ambition. It was, for me, very important as the accountable or the lead in this transformation, to really make it a journey worthwhile. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you say, what was the challenge? The challenge, because of the multitude of parties you have around the table, own wills that occur, etc. I really wanted that we deliver a journey where you can look back on and say, we learned, we overcame, we didn't know, but we got to know. And what is it that it took to get all those question marks together? So the challenge here for me, really, you have the ambitious timeline, and every day passed is a day less, right? Because again, the client set the deadline, was important for them. They had their own, also their own roadmap and their own strategy that they had to follow or prepare for. So we wanted to accustom that. It wasn't call it an objective as PwC. Okay, this is what you desire. Well, we're gonna make it happen for you guys, really. And the challenge there, like you say, people. It's not a challenge about people, but people all have their experiences, what they have gone through in earlier set-on projects, trying to mirror that it was the same. And we have to tell you guys this. Every project is as unique as every person in the world, really. They have similitude, they have similarities, but they are just in essence they are very different. And having to bring that also to a client, to understand that, to acknowledge that. And we had a very good experience with the client as well, okay? So yes, it was challenging and ambitious. The client was in his right demanding. And I mean, it's a good, looking back, it's really a great experience to have gone through, also to balance everybody's need in light of the objective that we want to attain. And for me, then the challenge was really the managing of what people wanted, how it had to be done, what do you prioritize, what over what each other, because everybody has their interests at play. And this for me was a challenge rather than anything else. Yeah. And Faycal, I mean, you being my right hand, my support in this experience. I mean, I hope I made it a learning experience for you as well.
Yes, of course.
The emphasis on journey again, the experience for the client needs to be one that it's not necessarily going to be smooth, but it is one that it is understandable and rich. How was it for you when I kept repeating these things all over again, that broken record? How was it for you?
To be honest, I took it
Please
over.
be.
I took it over. So Tassim really turned me in a blood hunter, to be honest, and I had to repeat because of this ambitious timeline, and we had these schedules, and everything went in parallel. I had to repeat certain things quite often to our team and to really harass them, kind of, to get things done sometimes. But yeah, at the end, I think that was necessary to bring this over the finish line.
And to their own right, when we say we had to repeat. But the thing is, we had a dedicated team. They had a focus. They had an objective as well for each in their own business domain, order, cash, finance, controlling, and everything ran in parallel. At the same time, there's a reporting flow also to respect, so that we have the where we are at, what are the problems, what is going well, what isn't going well. We had to mitigate as well. This is really something it's part of my DNA for some time. It's really this element of continuous improvement. You will always be better. There's always an opportunity to be better than yesterday. Okay, I believe that. It sounds like utopic or dreamy and what have you, but I'm a fond believer of that. And having you as my coachee, Faycal, I think I have, or want to believe that this is something that you are also taking on for your next endeavors as well, and that it is this continuous improvement element. And to their own right, when we say, indeed, Faycal, I really put you in a tough spot there for supporting me in getting the input and what have you. But, when you work in an ambitious timeline, something is going to give, right? And important here is that we acknowledge that from one another. Having to go after information, etc., it is with respect and love. And like I said, shout out to everybody that worked here. And really, without you guys, it wouldn't have been possible. But no, I would really do it again. Taking the lessons learned. And will it be different? I think it will be different. Would it be better? Absolutely. But we will have pitfalls or what have you. This game that I like to play. I like to play as a kid. Where is Waldo? This is, and we go back to that during the build phase. Was indeed things come up at some point that you did not foresee.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure if we could have done so much different, but maybe just for our listeners also, I think a couple of points to summarize, which are really key. All of these journeys are absolutely unique. They are a unique combination of the company, of the functional profile, functional scope, of the technology data. They usually come with a history. You mentioned that there are satellite applications which were very crucial in the manufacturing process, but But also, and I think probably one of the most important ingredients is every company, every project comes with a unique set of people, which need to be basically brought together. And I think it's fair to say we are rescuing also a number of projects. We just have 2 of them now on the table, which went horribly wrong. And when we look into these projects, we usually see that there are experts around the table only for one of these domains. Technical experts, great. They did a great solution, but no one uses the solution. Why? Data are not in the right place where they should be. So I think that's, one of the biggest lessons learned also, that when going in such a transformation, go into that transformation with people who have experience, who have seen the light in different flavors, in different colors, and by that also are able to compose compose that project in the right way, tailored to the customer, because there is not really a silver bullet.
A last thing that I wanted to mention it early on, but is something that I'm going to even vigorously focus on more: expectation management. Mm-hmm. Expectation management is so important, because yes, the future is there. We're preparing for it. S4 will do many things, will bring innovation, will. The road to get there, set that expectation right. It happens a lot that we project an idea that wasn't there, was not discussed, wasn't shared, what have you. Managing that expectation always becomes something to come back to.
No, very important point, I think. Expectation management, also what can the customer expect at the first go live?
Exactly.
Actually, it's very often the most important exercise to cut it down for the go live as much as possible, so that you are not risking business continuity, that you're really focusing on what matters in the beginning and have a smooth go live, which we succeeded with, actually with a go live which was totally boring. It was.
I had to laugh every time you said it. It was so boring. I mean, like, what do you mean so boring?
So we, of course, prepared for the worst, and at the end we had an extremely smooth transition. And when we looked what we actually did and what we all changed, it was almost impossible that it would go right without any turmoil, without any problems. And I think we did a very good job in the preparation. But before we come to that, let's dive a bit into the build phase itself. So summer 2024, we finally got the systems from SAP. We had all these people around the table. We had a great team ready to do what we defined in the design phase. Then there was good 6 months of heavy work in the build phase. From your perspective, both of your perspectives, what was there the biggest challenge at the end?
When I look back at that time, and working with, floating further on what I said on expectation management, when we were in the design, you have a certain idea of how you're going to configure, how you are going to set up the system, the target system, in line of the expectations. During the build, it can happen that it doesn't work out in that same way. For example, in source to pay, we had to work a lot with ABAP developers, okay? Because certain functionalities or requirements, specific requirements, which then became custom, even though which is fine, which is absolutely fine. The tagline was always, we're going to keep what is good and great and adapt to what is best. And sometimes off the shelf does not meet the client expectations. So in that iterative process, we had to adjust the S4 system to align then with the uniqueness of the said business request. And so here again, it was about, I need to see the system then. That takes time. It takes thinking time. It thinks configuration time. It requires investigation as well, because sometimes it doesn't work or what you try in your sandbox, and where you have actually just not necessarily corrupted data, or just as a test, it can work there during the build. So you're there setting up the system. The client becomes, in his right, anxious to see, because we have all been looking towards that moment and day where we will see the new system, because before it was only slideshow. It was a demo, but then you're in. And then you're trying to make a palace out of a house that stood its ground, and very well, because they really did a great job. I mean, remember when we visited the site as well, throwback a few months before, that they managed to do what they do in the traditional sense of the whole production cycle with the system that they have. I mean, they could join NASA because it was so well done, so well put.
Yeah. Also, the tailored self-built solution for the manufacturing was really for the whole planning of and quality control, etc. This was next level. Huh? I've rarely seen actually a medium enterprise. Huh? It's not a huge corporate which basically was able to develop a homegrown solution on that scale, and by the way, with very limited resources on that side. Something which, when we now turn back, is I think that was then the moment in the build phase when we also realized the maturity in SAP and the experience with these types of transitions, and also the manpower was actually by far not at the level to meet that deadline. And then basically we started to mitigate from our side. Maybe if you don't mind, Tassim, how did you perceive that? Huh? Because of course, mitigating from our side means additional efforts from our side that had to be added on request of the customer. How did you perceive that? Huh? The deadline didn't move. The challenges became bigger. You mentioned it a bit earlier on unforeseen things that came around. How did you perceive this phase?
Well, okay. So there are two things about it. On an intellectual level, it is like, these are the moments where you learn the most. All right? So this is one. So on an intellectual level, you learn absolutely a lot. It's so massive. I mean, again, 8 parallel business processes being worked on, adapted on, needs to meet the client expectation. We have an adequate team and what have you. So everything on that front, great. Like I say, unforeseen things, expectation management, mitigation. Something's got to give. And it puts a stress. So my experience on that, it was, okay, but I'm not a young kid anymore. I'm also now a dad, have personal, familial, family commitments as well. And so, again, we are consultants. We go until the very end, you know. I mean, what client expect from us is what we have to deliver. It is our commitment that we sign or give to the client. No question about it. I experience it as a stressful period to balance life, personal life, and the working one, because again, me as a person being intellectually challenged, also there, it came easy for me to do so, but I also then took on the difficulty that the team had to also deal with that, right? And so again, mitigating not only the clients, but also our own team, you know? It puts an additional strain on them because these are unforeseen events. The timeline is not shifting. So it comes at a price. And we worked hard on this to deliver that commitment. And this was so important for us to do so. There's no way around to say it. I mean, I'm not going to picture here a painting that isn't true.
No,
I have to.
But where we also have to, when we look back, where we have to be honest, the basically the expectation from our side, what the customer had to deliver in time in order to make that happen, didn't always come true. The one or the other time we had single people we had to rely on, which then all of a sudden disappeared on vacation or were not available because they were basically charged with other work. That's one of the challenges we have in many projects, where we also can only tell our listeners, prepare well for the workload that is expected from the business. And mostly you need the best people, which are usually already 100-120% charged. And if then you are working, like you mentioned it, working a lot of things in parallel, we are doing user acceptance testing of the changes that we did. We were doing data validation of the data migrations that we did, all pretty much in the same time span. And this only can be done. This cannot be done by us. We cannot simulate the users. We cannot decide whether the data are correctly migrated or not. We can only do that from an, let's say, technical perspective, but from a content perspective, this needs to be signed off and vetted by the customer. So I think that was, for me, honestly, maybe also looking back, and one of the biggest challenges where we also knew we could not change anything about that. We had this one person which was already or the couple persons, the stream leads from the customer, who were already challenged to the absolute limits. And we actually needed them more. We told everyone up front, but we had to go into that phase and manage it somewhere. And that's probably one.
Well, that's the thing. Like you said, it was unforeseen. We don't know. And then you come across, why is this written the way that it is in the system? What was the thinking? What was the logic of it? Because it's not working for us, right? We wanted to do something in the controlling area where we had to merge also company codes. We ask, but people move, people change, people they go in retirement, they find another job. That is all knowledge that isn't there present at the moment we encounter these things. You don't account for them in your timeline. And so we're going to investigative modes, forensically, peeling that iron to its aromatic molecular level, in a sense, just to paint a caricature. And then you found it, and then you can go ahead. But you lost, you won in experience, you won in insights, but it is time you're not getting back. And so it had to land somewhere. And I know, Faycal, I'm happy that you did not have to lose a lot of your mini-foot exercises or sessions, but it did ask also from your end the follow-up so somebody had to give from the top until those that are on the shop floor. So everybody was supporting.
And Tassim, I think you highlight a very interesting point, which I also would like to share with our listeners. We had, in this case, a customer who had a completely undocumented system, basically, and people who actually were aware of the system specifics left the company already. And so basically the people, the end users, worked with the system in the way that they knew it. But when we were in the need of understanding why is this like this, because we have to change that in order to make it work also for the future, we then came into these unforeseen efforts, into these unforeseen complications
and this is what I meant by where is Waldo?
Yeah, where's Waldo? Exactly. It's a very good picture. It's a very good picture. And I think on the one hand side, customers who have to face or who face this kind of situation, they should not be afraid, because at a certain moment you have to jump. But they should be aware of that and not put this as a stress to the project, but give that also the benefit to the project team to say, there will be corners in my 25-year-old system. And even me being more than 20 years in these SAP transformations, I saw things I've never seen before, because the customer transferred code from R2, this was just shortly after I was born, into R3, into ECC, asking that this also had to work at the end, R2 code from the early days in S4HANA. And this was the only way how things could work again. And so these were, of course, things no one told us before. And the expectation from the customer also, coming back to the expectation management, was like, you are experts in S4, but we are not necessarily experts in their particular system. So maybe coming back to a question that we had quite often in the project, doing more analysis upfront and going all to the detail, or going into the project and dealing with these kinds of things
As you go. Yeah,
Uh,
that becomes a budget also discussion as well. Huh?
I fully agree, Tassim. I fully agree.
Where do you put the emphasis on, etc.? And some choices will have to be dealt with at some other point in time, but you cannot escape them, right? So, no, again, I had a blast. I learned so much from this experience, from this implementation. I have a next one on the way. Very happy that I can build further on the experience gained shortly, and I hope to see you again there as well, Faycal. So looking forward to that dream team coming back together again. But again, also here, yes, like you said, the client expected we are the experts. We have gone through a multitude of transformations, migrations, and what have you. But like I said at the very beginning, it is as unique as every person in the world. It has similarities, but you need to go deep into the system. And there, me, as a project manager, delivery, what have you, I cannot not get pulled into that as well. Because again, like I said, it's an opportunity to learn as well. Not necessarily a job requirement for me, but I'm triggered to also want to understand, because in the end, it comes to how do you report it back? How do you then mitigate? How do you then take next step? How do you present options where the client has to take one decision over another? Informed decisions, right? Analysis. But at least listeners, it has never become a paralysis by analysis, but you know where to cut the line or cut the cord to say, okay, these are the options. These are, again, in light of time, which direction we go. And I believe we guided the customer in a direction that was beneficial for itself, for the timeline, and to, like you said that early on, you have lighthouse, or it was another word used, these like priority settings. What do you do after the migration, right? So let's not be boarded by them at the moment in time. So these balancing decisions one over another, offering them back to the client so that he can make an informed decision, because at the end you prepare for the worst always. You hope for the best, you prepare for the worst, and how do you mitigate that? This is my job as the delivery lead here, mitigation, because a project is a combination of things that can go wrong, and how do you deal with that? So this for me, again, the client was also it was a blast to work with the client as well. It was aware of its, it was very proud. It was a very proud customer, because indeed they had so much to be proud of. Like we said, how they set up their machinery, how they set up their logic, their system, what have you. But at the same time, change doesn't come overnight. It asks some time of getting to accept the terms, because change comes with also trade-off. S4 is a very good example in order, because settlement management is something new in S4. It is not there in ECC. So how you deal with that will be different.
So I think this is a good moment to ask you, Faycal, how you perceived this moment once the solution was built, build phase ended, it was ready, and now was the time basically to move over from the old system towards this newly built system. How did you perceive that phase, this cutover phase, this deployment phase, planning for that, preparing for that, test running it, and then preparing for the magic day of switching over?
Well, to begin with, I was very excited because I received quite some responsibility there to
Told you were my right hand.
to drive this together with Tassim, but also when you draft this planning, this cutover plan, to basically preparing yourself for that big day, that go live day. I mean, I think it went very smoothly, in my opinion. Everybody did I mean, everybody has their own tasks and to do stuff, but I think at the end it went very smoothly. Everyone did their job. Everyone worked together to get this done. And even we said it before, the go live was that successful that it was basically boring. And I was like thinking by myself, it was my first go live.
Is that always like that?
It's always like this.
I can definitely assure you.
I mean, credits to the people, the persons, our team again, and also maybe to the preparation we did before to draft this plan and to move from the old system to the new system.
I want to give an example during the cutover period. When we were into the go live simulation, right? What happened during the cutover? Again, you always plan for, you hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and we encountered the worst. What did we have? We had a lot of latency in the data migration.
I remember.
You remember?
This bloody thing wouldn't migrate the data.
Yes, it took a lot of time, right? Which put a stress on the timeline as well. We didn't expect that. I mean, nobody was at fault here. It was really something about network. It was about transport of data speed and what have you.
Configuration,
System configuration.
resources, old hosting provider.
Yes.
Tassim, shall we not just summarize what actually all had to happen in this cutover? So the customer on a Friday evening stopped, or Friday afternoon, stopped working in their ECC system. People went home. Some of them went home. Others prepared for the weekend.
You're talking about the go live weekend?
For the go live weekend. So they logged off from the ECC system. What happened then?
So what then happened over the weekend, you had then the final data migration, right? The selected data that you said that this is going to be what we want to use into the new system. S&P there supported here with the final and last data migration. When that happens and that runs successfully, they need some time to do that over the weekend. But then you have the DVS team, data validation solutions, DVS team at PwC Germany. Again, shout out to them as well, because they did an amazing job.
Yes,
we need to acknowledge here, made in an automated sense, verify the accuracy and the accuracy, correctness, and volume of the transported data, right? Because you want to have a sign off of DVS that says, you know, your modules are fueled with the right amount of data, or you will have so much % of potential corrections that need to be made manually. Okay, so we wait for the sign off of DVS doing their work. Again, the timeline was very strict. And then you then start by booting up your new system step by step.
Yeah, and so maybe just to complete that picture, you start from a ECC system hosted by a certain company. We have that as the source system. You have then a target system, which is in Subrise, completely in a different area, with all kinds of changes that we have been done over the build phase. Next to controlling area merges, you also mentioned, of course, settlement management. VIM, the vendor invoice management, was introduced. We prepared then the data migration. We pumped it over. Then authorizations had to be changed. People were supposed to use, of course, then also a good set of Fiori applications. And then basically we started pumping over the data, exporting from the old system, and it went slow in the beginning. we caught up with the timeline. And then there was Sunday evening, wasn't it? When
Yes, Sunday evening. You then start again. When I said you're booting up basically your new system with the freshly migrated data, and then you go through per business domain, because again here you have interdependencies, right? You cannot necessarily start something in your warehousing before it is then accounted for in your sourcing, for example. So we had then for every business domain, we had a set of activities that had to be performed to sound check basically the system. Does it show the information in the right fields that they should have been designated to, for example? Is there an order confirmation noticeable in the system? Do we have the claims that are there for example, I'm talking here about source to pay. Are there purchase orders also visible in the system? So you do these checks, and then you get a sign off from the business saying, okay, I feel comfortable and confident that I am ready to start with this system. Then you start real world evidencing or real world trying the system, right? And then sometimes a bug comes up, not being able to perform a certain activity like a settlement.
Yep.
It can happen, but then you categorize the bug that happens into, is it a low, medium, or a major? Is it something that is business critical? Luckily, and I will not say luck this time, because we planned for it. Like Faycal said, we planned for it. We accounted for these topics, and
Experts were available to
exactly. They were there on the not on site. We did a lot of it also on remote. Like I said, logistically, we were all over the world, but we were there. And yes, good work. You prepare well, you end well. And I think here, in the sense, we did just that. Some minor hiccups, like I said, in terms of grade, were there too, but they were dealt with also in a foreseeable, call it projectable or expected timeline. In that sense, yeah.
So, and at the end, all ended very well. And maybe to give also to our listeners a bit the context, the weekend after, a parallel project with almost the same scope, just a couple sizes bigger, also went live, also without any problems. And 2 weeks later, another big carve out of another client also went live. So we actually had 3 teams, extremely high performing teams, working in parallel with 3 go lives within 4 weeks. 4 weekends, so there was not much family time for some of us.
No.
That actually all went well. Where we also could basically give the customer, save a lot of money for the customer, because something that I also would like to highlight is, if things go wrong, the whole thing becomes extremely expensive quite quickly. Then you are very often in emergency mode, which is of course not efficient, which requires experts, which are usually then also expensive, where you don't have a choice then to just pay and do these things that are necessary to keep the lights on. So I'm also very, very happy actually, and very proud of our teams that they have prevented all the 3 customers we worked in that time for these, let's say, expensive outliers. Unfortunately, we know that not all projects go like that. So we have been asked now from a couple of customers who were having other partners for their journeys, which are now in very difficult situations where we need to rescue them. Since we are already quite
you make it sound like they're drowning in the middle of the ocean.
They probably would. Tassim, let me answer that. The customer probably says, I'm not even sure where I am. Am I in the ocean, or am I starving in a desert? So our first mission is to tell the customer where he is, because at the moment he doesn't even know whether he has actually no sales numbers anymore, or whether the system doesn't work, or whether the sales has really tanked to that extent.
Where's Waldo?
Exactly. Where's Waldo? Where are Waldos? Where are all the Waldos here?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
so this is of course something where no customer should actually go through. Let's see in these projects where the things went wrong. Since you mentioned already, we are a bit down the line with time-wise. We also mentioned that the actual hypercare was completely boring.
Yeah.
Let's maybe.
I was looking forward to the month-end closing.
Yes, and that's exactly. Let's maybe. That's like the proof of the pudding
Exactly.
is in the month-end closing.
And we were waiting, and we were looking. First month, closed.
Closed and in
Second
time.
month, in time. Second month, closed.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a colleague of ours, Prasad, a top-notch guy in his domain for finance. I reserved him, in the sense of this is so important. And then he was like,
There's nothing to do.
what do you want me to do, Tassim? What do you want me to Just be there.
Be there. No,
Your aura is already...
And that, of course, completely rewiring a legacy system that had been carved out and has a life of 25 or more years, and that this works all of a sudden without any noise. This is, this is Champions League. This is really, really cool. So let me please also take the time now to thank you guys for your incredible efforts to make that happen, to bring that over the finish line successfully. You know that for me the biggest ambition is to provide learning opportunities.
That you definitely did.
That's what I love to provide to the team, that they are every day become a bit smarter than the day before. This is what drives me doing the job, and also giving all we have for making the customers and the projects successful.
But Torsten, I've said it. To the team as well. We all have our responsibilities. We all have our focus and scope and what have you. And I've worked with many people in my experience, and I'm not just pampering you here. I'm not going. I think mentorship is something that you also brought into this project. Really, like you said, every opportunity to learn is one that needs to be taken with both hands. And you did just that. No question was too much. Again, for me, going into the SAP S4 journey, I had a lot of questions. At no point did I feel that question was a lot too much. And we went into the detail. I was looking at you. I'm like, don't you have other stuff to do? And he was looking with me into simplification items, to identify those that have to be dealt with on a manual basis. And I told also Faycal, listen, learn from Torsten or the likes of him, because this is just a learning opportunity. So thank you for that too. High stakes, but you trusted us, and we trusted you back. And so I think
fully agree.
It has to be said. It has to be said. I'm not scoring points here because I know.
Yeah, fully agree. I think that counts for both of you. When it's hard sometimes for me as a junior to keep up with the pace of the project, but reaching out to both of you was never a problem, and I was very grateful to be part of this project, and a successful one. And I think, as Torsten mentioned, 3 go-lives successful in back-to-back, I would say. Then I know I've made the right choice. I did. In which team I belong.
But this is only possible with a lot of experience. It's impossible such complex transformations to do with a team and with people who have not seen that already many times and can rely on that. So with that, also again from my side, a big thanks to the different parties, be it our PwC teams around the globe that helped making that happen, be it SmartShift, be it S&P for the data migration, be it the SAP team as well, which also worked outside of their comfort zone, outside of their normal processes, but of course also the enormous efforts from the customer to make that happen. So I'm not sure if I forgot anyone. The DVS team also a part of PwC. So that's definitely that was a huge. It was an orchestra which we tried to have symphony played, and they did extremely well. And exactly executed at the end as we had practiced and tried to prepare for this magic day. And with that, I think let's wrap it up. I think it's
Indeed.
not only the end of the episode.
No, thank you very much for at least having me on as
thank
the
you, Tassim.
closing,
Thank you,
as the closing one for this season.
Indeed.
Was it? And you guys are starting up early next year, right?
Yeah, Faycal,
Yes.
shall we just share a bit how we continue? Because we got so much feedback from you guys out
Thanks for
there.
that.
Thank you so much for that. Because this was basically for us inspiration to go a bit on the next level. Just maybe to reflect from my end. I mean, I'm in that business now for a really long time, and very often I don't know what's interesting for other people. And you fueled us with so many questions, which made us think about, okay, that can be interesting. And that is basically something that other people would love to listen to. So we decided to close that season as a kind of a laying the foundations on this whole S4 topic and starting a new one. Faycal, what are our plans?
Without spoiling too much, I would say
Just give something.
definitely more guests. I think we can thank Tassim very much for his insights and
My pleasure. Thank you.
all his experience shared. But also, we like to have more visuals. We will. I know listeners. It's always listening, but we would like to shift this a bit also to more seeing as well. Seeing the people who are talking and see the smiles on our faces when we talk about these successful projects.
Yeah. And the next season is after laying the foundation, season 1, now season 2 is really focusing on specific topics. So basically at the end, you will have this this whole podcast, season 1 and season 2, as a kind of a library where you can basically choose the book for the topic that you are actually dealing with. So we will, for example, go in aspects like custom code, much more in detail in data migration. Just to name a couple of them, it was a fun exercise when we were programming this season 2, where I think within 15 minutes, we got
real quick.
We got into 20 topics, which actually came from you guys. Because for us, this is like very normal business to deal with these topics. We quite quickly understand how to approach things. But of course, for you, it's a one-time exercise. You are with your system, with your context, with your organization, with your implementation, with your processes. And you're, of course, curious what does it take for how to deal with, for example, custom code, etc. So therefore, we decided really to have these specific, actually a season of breakouts, a season of specific highlights, spotlights on these topics.
Like what, mini workshops?
No, it's not workshops. It's really basically topics which are very specific parts of this transformation journey. So we had like we just published.
Don't spoil too much.
No, I'm not spoiling too much.
So basically, it's actually unfolding more in granularity what we just discussed about.
We are now going into details.
Right.
And of course, this is then also more when people then look at as I mentioned in the whole series, when they say, I don't want to hear the whole season 1 because I understood the basics and the overview and going brownfield, bluefield, etc. But now I have an issue with this topic, and this is in season 2, episode 10. will exactly talk about that. So we will share more of this experience on very specific.
So we will have diagrams, visuals.
We might
like
have
that.
we might have diagrams and visuals if that helps much more to understand it.
All right.
This is of course for all the listeners who are listen in the car. Not that handy, but you will of course then also be able to do that.
So actually, they're getting a bonus.
We are going now one level deeper. We are going now one level deeper after setting the scene, the big picture. Now season 2 will be tackling the details. So it's a bit the masterclass. Huh? So that's probably a better word for it. So very much looking forward. We are also very curious to hear your feedback again also on this episode. Were there things which were unclear? We are happy to answer that. If you are facing an S/4HANA transformation, please feel free also to reach out for the different questions that you have around that. More than happy to share our experience. And with that, I would say, let's call it an episode.
Yes.
And end a season. Thanks a lot, Tassim.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Faycal. It was really a pleasure having you here in that podcast, hearing your perspectives on that journey. And also the customer will know who it is. So without that, we mentioned names or cities. So also to you guys, congratulations to that achievement, and happy to have you on the other side of the SAP river, on the S4 side. And with that, let's call it a day.
Then I will end with thanking you, Torsten, as well. For the interesting questions. Share this episode with whoever might be interested, and keep on using this momentum to see us in the next episode.
Awesome.